is Fortnite bad for your mental health? So I've been doing a little bit of research, but there is a ton more research to do on this, so I think I'm going to actually take the deep dive into all of that. But, I guess this goes on from our last discussion. But there's been a lot of research, and I've found some things out here, going on from when Fortnite might be, is it bad for our kids? Well, now is it bad for our mental health? Whether it's us as parents who play it or our kids, we're always trying to do our best for them. But what I found out is, and see, this is the thing, a lot of the research isn't specific to Fortnite. I think people use Fortnite as a bit of a putting it on a pedestal to try to cut it down, which I don't think is the right, that's not right either. But it's not just Fortnite. But the World Health Organization have actually created or said that internet gaming disorder is actually a thing. It's a thing. It's not it's not a diagnosable condition in the US, at least from what I've read. I don't know here about Australia. I'd probably say it isn't, if it isn't in the US at the moment. It does appear in the DSM-5. So the DSM is the Diagnostical something manual. The S doesn't stand for something. But basically, it's what psychologists use, and it's basically a book that lists all the psychological conditions that are are known to exist, or that we've categorized and labeled. So that's what the DSM is, and they're up to version 5 of that. So this internet gaming disorder, IGD, have I got it right? Yes, IGD. It's in there as a disorder that needs further study. So it's not quite considered like a mainstream psychological disorder. But I thought that was interesting. Nonetheless, I think it speaks into something more so than internet gaming. I think it really speaks into I think it's a form of addiction. A lot of the app, and this is where it does, I guess, it can affect our mental health. A lot of the things that are used in video games are techniques that are designed to get us hooked, right? They're designed to get us addicted by stimulating the reward centers of our brain. And what I've been reading is that the environments we expose our brain to can physiologically change our brain. That means the structure of our brain actually changes. The connections it forms change. The parts that become more developed, are affected by the environment we're put in. So that in itself can actually cause mental health issues. But that is more an addiction thing. It's not a Fortnite specific thing, and that's where I've got a bit of an issue around people going, oh, it's Fortnite is bad for you. It's not. Excessive anything is bad for you, right? But I guess in particular these video games such as Fortnite, I will sort of say yes, Fortnite does partake in the strategies to get us hooked. The color schemes they use, the sound effects, these all create a very immersive environment for our minds. The instant kill, come on, we got to admit it, shooting the bad guys. You saw what I was like when I was taking them down, and the sinking feeling you feel when you get eliminated. These emotions that get triggered, they have an effect on us. They get us like, ooh, yeah, they suck us in. The rewards that we can gain, the free rewards, the emotes, putting on 2FA and you get the E mode, and like the battle rewards you get, even when you don't have the battle pass, all those things, they trigger us. You know, it's fast paced, right? Like that game, how long? Like I've played like 4 games in an hour, like 15 minutes, bam. I mean, if you win, maybe a little bit longer, right? But they like that instant. It's just instant, and it just keeps going. The next one just loads up. Do you see? I don't know if you noticed that. I didn't even notice that until I've just consciously thought about it. When I got eliminated, then I just clicked straight into ready up, continue, load me into the next one. It was just like, that was just subconscious. I didn't actually realize I clicked on it when I actually wanted to go back to the lobby so we could have this serious discussion. So that is how, you know, these are the things that get us hooked into games. And if you want to know more about getting hooked, Nir Eyal wrote a book called Hooked, and then he wrote that to help people, consumers, be aware of the tactics that that video game or that apps use to get us engaged and continue scrolling and, you know, keep our eyeballs on the screen. And it kind of backfired because all the app developers picked it up and they were like, this is gold. And so that just gave them like let's just do all these things because these are all the things that get people hooked. So he wrote another book called Indistractible, which helps people put in place techniques to try to break those addictive forming tricks that they use. So anyway, I digress. So that's part of the issue, right, with the whole internet gaming disorder, and I think speaking more so into addiction, if anything, in this way. So that is part of the issue. The other issues, again, you know, I don't think this is specific to Fortnite. Too much gameplay. What's it do? Well, it's going to keep you awake. I mean, I've turned my orange filter off, my blue light filter off on my screen, and this thing is seriously, my screen, you can see how much it's lit me up. I am like, my eyeballs are literally like I think that I might be bleeding behind my eyes. Like it's intense, right? The light coming off is intense, and that keeps you awake. All that blue light, boom, 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 smashing your eyes. That keeps you awake. It stuffs up your natural rhythm to try to get to sleep. So you've got to be really conscious about, got to get to sleep, because that sleep is key. One of the key things for your mental health and your mental well-being. So that's something else that had been brought up, and people waking up during the night. And I think it's because it's like all that blue light. It's like the same as staring at your phone just before you go to sleep, except the monitor's bigger, so it probably emits more light and stuffs you up even more. So those things, yes, I do agree that the sleep disruption that can cause mental health issues, but I don't think that's specific to Fortnite. I think that's specific to people just spending way too much time playing video games. And then the other key thing, which we brought up last week, was that the violent nature of this game and whether that causes people to become more aggressive. As I said last week, and I'll say it again this week, I disagree with that. I don't think it does. I mean, some studies say the battle royale type of genre causes aggression, or people, because they can access aggressive thoughts or they're more exposed to it, that can cause people to have slightly more aggressive behaviors. Probably the key one that I picked up was that, they say it reduces empathy, but we're going to get onto that in a second. But the key one that I picked up from the study was that it creates a sense of underachievement. So I think, again, this goes back to a bigger discussion around mental health and not just Fortnite. Like, Fortnite's not completely responsible for people's poor mental health. I think the world we live in today, isn't good for people's mental health. We have to be so conscious of not staring at the screen too long. I mean, how many of us adults here work on a computer, right? We're like using the computer 8, 10, 12 hours a day, if not more. That we're not playing Fortnite for 12 hours. Maybe some of you are, and maybe that's something you need to think about. But like just being on the screen for that long, that's not good for your lifestyle, right? Like sitting down in front of the screen for such an extended period. That's not good for your mental health. I mean, I remember when I had a day job, particularly in winter, as we are right now. If you guys are down in the southern states in Australia, you'd know exactly what I mean, or, you know, really far north in the northern hemisphere when it's your winter, you know exactly what I mean. By the time you get up in the morning, you get to work. Like, you get up, it's dark, you get to work, you head into the office, you're there all day. By the time you get out at 5, the sun's gone down already and it's dark again, and you just don't see daylight, you know, for a good few months. So that's not good. The office I worked in, we didn't have windows where we could actually see out of. They were like, we worked in a warehouse, so the windows were way up high, and like you couldn't actually see the sky. So, you know, that's like that sort of stuff's just not good, let alone, you know, like playing video games. Video games, that's not doing it. It was being in that environment where you couldn't even get outside. You know, there was no green or anything. So we've just got to be super conscious about that these days. And in fact, interestingly, a lot of studies that have been done showed that there wasn't any evidence to support that playing violent video games actually caused people, or young people in the study, to become more violent or more aggressive. So I thought that was interesting, and apparently a lot of brain scans have been done, and I guess they're looking at parts of the brain that are related to aggression, or I guess significant emotional response. So particularly the amygdala is generally associated with survival instincts. So often we, you know, like when we think to fight, like it'll be that part of the brain that's getting stimulated and sort of taking over. And the sort of neocortex, or the, you know, our frontal lobes and the sort of parts that I guess make us a human, like they, you know, they're not so involved in that. So anyway, so I'm assuming that a lot of those scans would have been done on the amygdala. It didn't actually show an increase in connections, I suppose, because they're saying like there wasn't, the evidence wasn't there to support that playing video games with violence in it actually increased someone's aggression level. So I thought that was interesting. So, you know, like the research is also showing that perhaps where it's not as connected, the violent video games, in this case we're talking about Fortnite, isn't as connected to aggression as we thought. And I'm just referring to the notes here. So the other one, yes, so playing too many video games, and again, I don't think this is related to video games. I think this is just related to a different issue, which we'll touch on, and I think this also links back to that empathy thing, is that, you know, people, I guess particularly younger people, getting very stressed, although I know some adults get stressed, you know, playing these video games, and it releases cortisol and has an effect on our cardiovascular system as well. So obviously that we're talking more about our physical health. So, you know, I think certainly it's exciting, right? Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not here to go like, well, no, we shouldn't be doing this whole thing. I mean, I stream this stuff, right? So like it's exciting, and to be honest, I like that excitement. I like the heart pounding in my chest moments when I'm playing, you know, and like the hand shaking so much I can't even control it. I'm not a super competitive player. I just really enjoy the whole experience, and I think that's, you know, what video games were really designed to do. So for me, it's not, while it's slightly disappointing, right? Like I'm not soul crushed when I get eliminated, although my ranting and raving might give you a different opinion of that. But you know, it's not like, I think if you lose in a video game and it's causing a lot of those really, like, you just feel really down about it, you know, I think depression, anxiety, things like that were linked to too much video games. I think that was more too much video games rather than Fortnite in particular, but I guess Fortnite, like you're going to lose, right? It's not like a winning all the time sort of sunshines and rainbows sort of situation. Like if that's causing a lot of those stressful responses, I think it speaks more into perhaps a person's overall lifestyle that they really need to take a look at. You know, are they someone who just doesn't deal with challenges well? Not just like video game challenges, you know, just life challenges well. Do they, like, you know, what's their mindset like? How do they perceive problems? How do they interact with other people? Like, that's all life stuff, right? Like, we all have to deal with that, and it's not video games that are necessarily, or Fortnite or violent video games that are necessarily making us bad people, or like, you know, mentally ill necessarily. Like, there's probably a lot of other factors that are in people's lives that are affecting their ability to cope with situations in life. So I think people just need to be more conscious of that and really try to look into techniques around creating or building their self-esteem, creating an environment that promotes their well-being, and be quite strict on. I know that's something that I've really had to work on lately, about, you know, being really strict on my diet, my exercise, my sleep. So, you know, really trying to gear your brain up for success. Like, that's something else. That's nothing to do with playing too much Fortnite and playing violent video games. Like, that's, you know, all those things. You get those things right, I think your mental health is going to be like a lot more resilient. So that's my opinion of the research I've read so far. You know, I think there probably is a lot of study that needs to be done, but I think we also need to look intrinsically, internally in ourselves, in terms of what is our response to video games. You know, we have to be conscious of what we're actually doing and what we're engaging our minds in. So I think that's going to help us more around our mental health than saying, oh, well, it's violent video games. You know, like, well, how do we actually react to situations? Don't get me wrong, like, there's probably a group of people who get triggered extremely easily for whatever reason, you know, and I don't think it's the video games that is at the core root of it, or the violent video games that's at the core root of it. I think they probably have other life issues that they need to work through, or perhaps they have a like a, you know, potential like biological or physiological condition that needs to be addressed medically. So like that's a whole different group of, you know, that's not, I don't think that's what we're talking about here. And I don't think it's right to say, well, there's a small percentage of people like that, so we just need to ban video games completely because we don't know who they are in society. I don't think that's the right way to do it either. You know, we need to be really vigilant and conscious of video games. So anyway, that is Dad Rant over for today.